Saturday's game this week on Draftstars, the $10,000 guaranteed West Tigers v Eagles match here. Outside backs, we start off with an interesting one. We haven't seen Adam Dewey in a while in this section, or even playing in general since he did that big injury. And he came on for short minutes in that first game, some decent minutes in that second game there with 38.9. And he's someone that gets right involved in everything when he's in the game. So even at center there, he could still score pretty decently. 15,000 is obviously a little bit expensive, but what we can see out of him is in this section really is there's not a lot of cracking players that could come out and score great. You've had Penasini that's been doing pretty well, and I would suggest that he's a great selection this week, given that there's a better chance that they win this game, the Parramatta Eels, after having a bit of a shocker last week. I think Penasini will bounce back, for example. You got Nofaluma, and you've also got Gutho and potentially Micah Sivo, who obviously had a light game last week, but can have a good one as well at 10,500. So, in saying that, depends on what kind of cash you're going to spend in the other sections as to if you would pick Adam Dewey or not. Nofaluma had a rough game last week and has a couple of weeks ago as well. So 50s when he scores in between that. Do we think the Tigers are going to have a good crack against the Eels or not? You're going to have to make that decision as if you're going to pick Nofaluma or not. With Gutho, they played pretty poorly last week and he had a good one. So interesting how that played out. The games before that, 11, 31, and a 35. So he's a little bit of a risk, but a 12-7, not the biggest risk that you're going to have to take in these games. So Dewey, Penasini, Nofa, Gutho, and Micah Sivo are your selections there. And base it just off how much cash you got in the bank when you're making those selections. Okay, the halves and the hookers. In terms of selections, again, not too many. Farmanu Brown is a solid one, I think, at 10,500. He does have little on the bench, so anywhere around that 40 or so minutes, he could get that mid-30s, but is obviously a bit of a risk if he's not going to be playing huge minutes in this one. Up top, I think Mitch Moses is probably the guy you have to select. Obviously the most expensive, but the best chance of hitting you a 50 or 60 compared to a lot of the other guys. Reedy's been scuffling a little bit of recent time, 42 and a 45 there in amongst some low 50s where he was fairly consistent there. You got Hastings, who hasn't been scoring very well, and then you got Dylan Brown, who's had a bit of a rough bunch of games as well. So Moses, Reed, probably are two selections up top, and if you're going to spend a little bit less, then Farmanu Brown could be in your flex or in that half position if you like. We're looking up top, so Ryan Madison is out, guys. Just be aware of that. I'm making this a little bit early, this video, but Maddo is out. Isaiah Pupley is probably going to play 13. Nathan Brown is, potentially could be selected. He's an 18 jersey, so he could come into number 13 or even off the bench, and Pupley moves to 13. So if he does move to 13, I don't think he's going to score as well as he has through that middle period there. That 43, 55, and 47 is all through the middle. So I think here you can select Joao Fangawe, who's been scoring incredibly well. And now that Twal's out for a little bit, he's getting that huge minutes through the middle, and I think that he can continue to score at a 55 plus over the next bunch of weeks until at least Twal comes back and maybe pinches a few minutes and that extra bit of workload through the middle. So Joe, great selection this week in my eyes. Shawnee Lane at 17,000 has been scoring incredibly well, and if he can get anywhere around that 50 mark again, which he's been super consistent with over the last 5 weeks, then he's a great selection. Even with a team that hasn't been scoring or playing too well, Sean Lane's been able to deliver the goods on a regular basis. We see James Tarmow come back, and he, at 15,000, has been scoring really well. Obviously, the average there of 42.6. He's in form, hitting that 44.7 at the moment. But just at an awkward price, I'm not exactly sure. When you can go for guys like Murata Niokore at 13,340, when he plays in that front row position, generally scores in the 40s. So I think you can get a better score out of him, or at least the same score for a lesser price, if that makes sense. And then you've got Lukey Garner, Regan Campbell-Gillard, who have both been scoring pretty well also. So an average of in the low 40s there for Lukey Garner is a solid one as well, just under 14k. Obviously, the form for Regan has been great also. If we're looking down lower, there's two more guys to potentially select, and I think that's Kelma Tuolangi and also Funua Pole. So with Tuolangi, he's been scoring okay. Obviously, the last 2 weeks a 29 and a 38. Generally through tackles is how he's going to make his points up. And Pole had a great game first up, 44.1 with 37 tackles and 60 meters through the middle off the bench. And with Twali out, as we said, this is the guy that's come in and got some decent minutes. So does he get those minutes again? That's going to be the question. But generally, I think there's a great opportunity for him to get 40 minutes and a 30 plus score. So that would be the guys I'd be selecting in those positions there. You've got a couple of forwards off the bench in Kai Rodwell and also Justin Matamua. But overall, I think they're a definitely risk compared to guys like Pole and Tuolangi at 10,500. So that's that video, guys. I hope you enjoyed that one. Took plenty out of it. Jump in the description, hit that sign up link, and get cracking on Draftstars. See you later, guys.